Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga show. Tonight, we are doing our predictions for match week 17 of the Bundesliga. So, very much looking forward to getting stuck into that. Before we get going, Mark, you starting to get in. Well, we're ramping up now the excitement levels ahead of tomorrow's first game and loads of footy now to look forward to.
Yeah, very much so. Obviously, the big re-kickoff, I suppose you'd call it, tomorrow. Obviously, Bayern Munich versus Hoffenheim. Yeah, it seems as though Bayern kick off all these kind of things, but I think in the Bundesliga they always have the champions kick off the Hinrunde and the Rückrunde. And let's be honest, Bayern have won 11 straight, so that probably sums up why it always seems like Bayern kick off these kind of games. Doesn't seem long since obviously Leipzig played Bayern last year, and I think you covered it, Rory, as well, if you remember that. Time just flies, doesn't it? But yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to be an interesting game and great to have the Bundesliga back.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get cracking, if you can smash a thumbs up on tonight's video, that'd be fantastic. You can see we've already had a few comments, particularly if you want to leave a few predictions, obviously whilst we're live, which won't be for too long, but definitely afterwards, and obviously subscribe to the channel. Just an FYI for anyone who's unsure, Fantasy Football Show draft, the big Rückrunde draft should be going live tomorrow morning with myself and Runa at 8:30 a.m. UK time. So definitely one to get in the diary and hopefully you can make the most of that whilst it's out. Without further delay, let's crack on and do some predictions and make ourselves look silly. So Mark, you're going to kick us off with Bayern and Hoffenheim.
Yeah, obviously the big game in the Bundesliga on Friday evening is Bayern-Hoffenheim. Yeah, I mean, what can you say about this? Hoffenheim, I think we mentioned on our kind of preview show that they're one of the teams that are probably doing a little bit better than what was expected, but they still blow very, very hot and cold. Pellegrino Matarazzo's team, and you're never quite sure what they're going to do from game to game. I think away from home, they've been very, very good. I think they've got either the most or the second most away wins in the league so far, which is very impressive. But obviously, we all know that a trip to the Allianz Arena is never an easy game, especially on a freezing cold January evening over there in Munich. You've got to tip Bayern to win, but I do think Hoffenheim will cause problems, but I think it should still be a relatively comfortable home win for Bayern Munich, despite obviously missing Kim, who's in the Asian Cup, and Mazraoui, who's at the AFCON as well. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 3-1 home win there. So Rory, do you want to take us through Leipzig, Frankfurt?
Yeah, absolutely. Should be a pretty exciting game. This surprise is maybe not the top spiel. I think it's called the Saturday night game. You can correct me, Mark.
Top spiel. Yeah.
Top spiel. There we go. I'm starting to get there with my lingo.
Yeah, exactly.
Only 4 years later. Leipzig obviously been involved in a few odds and bods of transfer business so far this January. I don't think they look any weaker or any stronger just yet. But of course, they will want to pick up massively if they want to. Well, the aim has to be to get top four. Frankfurt, of course, as you can see in the bottom corner, aren't too far off and have been improving slowly. So interesting game. Should be a high scoring one, I think. So I'll go for a 2-2 to get started.
Yeah, should be a good game, that one. Definitely usually a good game when those two teams meet. And then, talking of good games, we got two last season's high flyers, Freiburg and Union Berlin. Obviously, neither of them are doing as well this season, but Freiburg is still nicely nestled into that top half, just outside the European picture. I mean, Union Berlin away from home have been dire, basically. They really have. They've only won one game on the road, and that was at Darmstadt. And they've not even come close to getting any points in recent weeks on the road. So it's hard to look beyond a home win here, in truth. I mean, Freiburg win most of the home games comfortably. And to be honest, they were on a good run before that narrow defeat at Heidenheim, the game before the winter break. So I'm going to go for a comfortable 2-0 home win here for the Freiburg team.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to the next game, saw an interesting tweet put out earlier on today, I think it was, about the Bundesliga XG table, if it would stand, if the XG had come to pass and kind of converted into points. And mine's were, I think they were seventh or something ridiculous like that. So their XG is really, really, really good. But they're not scoring, so they're not being clinical and they're missing their chances. But it does line up with what we were saying, Mark, as well the other night about how we think that the performances aren't too far off, but the improvement still needs to be made at the top end. With all that being said, obviously they got Wolfsburg side that are very much also in a need to improve sort of situation. It'd be great if Mainz could kick off with a home win. I think he'll be close, but I'll back them. I'll say a 2-1 home win to get them started in the Rückrunde.
Yeah, interesting prediction. Yeah, I would agree with that one. I think Mainz have surely got to start winning games of football, haven't they? I mean, it's got to come eventually. Yeah, and then obviously an interesting one as well. A game between obviously FC Köln and Heidenheim. I mean, Heidenheim 3 wins in a row. They didn't want the Hinrunde to finish at all, did they? They were absolutely brilliant in the back end, culminating in that magnificent 3-2 win at home against Freiburg. I mean, their job this window is just going to be to keep those players together. Basically, they want to keep Bester, they want to keep Kleindienst, Dingchi, and the like, all at the club. As for FC Köln, obviously they did appoint their new manager Schultz as well, formerly of Basel and St. Pauli. Not really perhaps the name that Köln fans would have been hoping for, but one thing I will say, he's been very, very positive about the team in the early interviews, and he's come out and said that he believes the team will stay up, and he's very, very confident. But will his team be able to walk the walk, which is basically something they weren't able to do in the entire Hinrunde, let's be honest. This is a hard game because Heidenheim have really... One thing I like about Heidenheim in recent weeks is they've learned to win ugly a little bit too. I think when they won at Mainz a few weeks ago, they didn't play great football in that game, but they won it. And Heidenheim are a team that play good football, they entertain, but you need to be able to win ugly sometimes as well. And I've got a feeling this will be one of those times when they win, maybe not ugly, but back to the wall away win. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Heidenheim here.
Yeah, goals ultimately being a big thing for the Billy Goats at the moment, or the lack of. FC Augsburg hosting Leverkusen, who, of course, seeing the bad news about Victor Boniface and his injury, really sad to see that, but hopefully he can make a strong recovery and come back and push Leverkusen towards a Bundesliga title. This will be a tricky one for Leverkusen. Of course, all that magical football that we've seen from them in the Hinrunde in the first part of the season. It's about going again and being relentless. I can completely see Leverkusen doing that and maybe not repeating it by going unbeaten all the way through the season, but it will be a tough test for them to start the second half of the season. But I think they have enough about them against this FC Augsburg side, who are improving. Tricky team to beat, particularly at home. But I think Leverkusen have got all the keys to unlock their defence. So I will say 3-1 away win.
Yeah, and talking about games where the away team will be big favourites, SV Darmstadt against Borussia Dortmund. But, we say big favourites, but they only won 1 out of the last 8, incredibly, which is just absolutely ridiculous, basically. To only win 1 out of 8 is really, really poor, in truth, for a BVB team. Darmstadt obviously are bottom of the league as things stand, but they've managed to accumulate 10 points, which is probably more than what many would have expected from the first 16 games. So they're still in fighting, they're still in with a chance. Yeah, as you can see, BVB David predicts a win as well for Darmstadt, and I'm going to agree with him here. Obviously, Jadon Sancho made his big famous return after basically 2.5 years of complete mayhem, really disaster for his career. He's completely fallen off the radar of just about everyone, really. But for Dortmund, it is a good signing. They will be hoping he can hit the ground running, but I doubt he'll be involved in this particular game. I think that's very, very unlikely. I expect it'll take at least 2-3 weeks before we see him starting in that team. But still, I still think Dortmund are going to dust themselves down, and they will have a good Rückrunde for me. And I'm going to go for a 3-0 away win here.
Yeah, absolutely. Be interested to see Dortmund fans' opinion on the big signing. Obviously, they've got brought in Maatsen from Chelsea on loan. Both players have got quite a lot to prove, I think. Overall, the Sancho story, of course, is a really interesting one. Obviously, going forward, I think, is it a signing for nostalgia's sake? As you say, Mark, it's going to take a few weeks for him to get up to speed in general. So, and it's only a 6-month loan. So if you cut that down, if there are injuries involved, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on, of course. As a United fan, I've got to try and hold my tongue on the player himself, I think. Anyway, I digress. Bochum and Werder Bremen. Bochum, we said, are on target. That they're tricky to beat at home. Of course, they're struggling to score goals, but they've got that real kind of steely outfit in the middle of the park and starting to improve defensively a little bit more. Werder, and we were talking about Werder, Mark, on obviously the show on Monday, and we're kind of referring to the Bore and Dush kind of partnership, but it looks like Bore is off anyway, and I think he's going over to South America. So with that in mind, that's quite a bit of a blow, I'd say, for Werder, because Bore is a Bundesliga goal scorer. So anyway, we'll see how that impacts them as the season goes on. I can see this being a tie one, as you would imagine. So I'll probably go for a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, definitely. And then an interesting game to finish off the weekend. For me, this is arguably game of the weekend in terms of entertainment is concerned. I think this is going to be a good one between Gladbach and Stuttgart, two teams who have not been afraid to score goals this season. But unfortunately for Gladbach, they've not been able to keep them out at the other end. So Stuttgart are probably favourites for this, but they are missing key names. Guirassy won't be available for the game, so that is going to be a big talking point. So Gladbach will see this as a winnable game, but I don't see them getting over the line. I just think that they need to sort that defence and probably the goalkeeping situation out too, Gladbach, before they start winning games on a regular basis. So, but I don't think they'll lose it at the same time. I think it's possible that Stuttgart might start to drop a few more points in the Rückrunde. I think it's impossible that they can keep that run going to the level that they were in the Hinrunde, which was ridiculous. And we did see them take a few losses away from home at the back end of the Hinrunde. But I think they'll get a point here, but it'll be a good game, and I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw in this one.
Excellent. Yeah. So if Mark, you can kindly scroll over to the right of your screen, we'll just have a quick look at what we think will come to pass and what the table might look like. So obviously Bayern still playing catch up, but we reckon it will be all in kind of as it was in terms of the top two, the title race wise, and it might bunch up a little bit more if Stuttgart drop points, and then if we scroll down to the bottom, of course we'll see things develop over the course of these next few games. We will see Darmstadt and Köln still at the bottom there, with Mainz and Union, and then maybe a little bit of a gap forming to Bochum, Werder and the like. Excellent stuff. So first prediction show done for the second half of the season, first one in 2024. Thank you very much to everyone that's got involved tonight. Really good engagement. So that's excellent. I'll hand over to you, Mark, to just finish off the show.
Yeah, thanks to Balam as well for checking in, as he often does. Yeah, end of the mini prediction show. Always good to hear from you. You'll be hearing a lot from us over the next coming weeks. Obviously, we've got the extended, it's a long time before the next break now. It'll be the end of March, I believe. So basically 2.5 months of solid Bundesliga every weekend, which is what we want to see, isn't it? So yeah, if you enjoyed what you saw today, then check out our Twitter feed at Over the Bar FB and at Over the Bar Extra. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us as well. So yeah, thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you. Well, Rory will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, guys.
Cheers all.